Couch Coach Live, Wednesday under the lights here at Couch Coach Live. What's going on, fellas? What's going on? First off, what's going on, JB?
Not much. Long time no see. I think it's been last time last time we did the show together was like October. It's been like a long time. Football. Oh yeah, man. Congrats to your. I didn't say anything. Congrats to your Commanders, man. You had a nice year, man.
Seriously.
You had a nice year. I can't see the Cowboys doing anything for a while, but congrats. Jaden Daniels is the truth. But yeah, I'm doing good, man. It's been a long time.
Oh man, what's going on, Coach? Man, it's good. JB back. I had thought about him earlier today. Just because I'm speaking to somebody at one of the places I went to. But man, we're back. Couch Coach Live. We are back on Wednesdays.
Yeah. We finally came back last week after sabbatical, but we are back at
all right
here on a Wednesday night under the lights. We will discuss the latest in women's college basketball. JuJu Watkins, the unfortunate injury with her. We'll talk about Jay Will had a statement this week to state that N.I.L. is the death of Cinderella runs in the NCAA tournament. We'll discuss that. Dame Lillard also out with an injury. We'll talk about the latest with Dame Lillard. Then we'll talk about Russell Wilson signing with the New York Giants. Then we'll talk about, and we'll close it out with our thoughts on the late George Foreman. And then we'll do our game ball and shout-outs for the week. So we'll be back here on Couch Coach Live. I'm going to kick that intro, and we'll be right back here on Couch Coach Live. All right, and we are back here. We're back here on Couch Coach Live. This week's Couch Coach Live is powered by the good folks at SeatGeek.com. Use our promo code Couch Coach. Get yourself $20 off your next purchase. So first off, our first topic of tonight, we're going to discuss the latest in women's college basketball, where we have some terrible news where JuJu Watkins, the star for USC, went down on Monday with an apparent ACL injury versus Mississippi State. That's going to require season-ending surgery for JuJu Watkins. I'm going to go with you guys, fellas. Thoughts on the apparent injury to JuJu Watkins, your overall thoughts. And guys, I'm gonna step out momentarily. I think I have some technical difficulties on my end, so I'll chime away, fellas.
Yeah. Molly, wow, what did you think about it?
You know how I am, man. Like when I got all the information I was looking at, it was terrible that it happened. From what they said, she's had some ankle and some other things issues when she was younger, and she always tough through it. It comes with I was looking at it like, everybody has a path. And what I was hearing, though, even though she has all the endorsements and she is the face of college women's basketball, is she still wasn't getting the attention as some people say Caitlin Clark was. And I feel like with this injury, it's given her that attention. And everybody loves a comeback story. So that's going to be her path and her story, which is going to be great. It's tragic. It's sad because, everybody wants to see Paige and her most likely play together, things of that nature. But it seemed like from some of the information I was seeing today that those stories and build-ups has happened since they were younger. And it was always Paige getting hurt and Caitlin took the baton and then, this situation. So it's sad, but I really felt like USC stepped up and did what they were supposed to do. I got some stats here. 29 assists to Mississippi's State's 9. And just that alone, you know what I mean? I'm like, oh, they're moving the ball. They're playing defense. I think 31 defensive rebounds. So, she's young and she's going to be the comeback, and she's going to have a lot of people behind her. It's 2025. They have so many different things, surgeries and medicines and different things they could do to help her move forward. So it's tragic, but hey, I'm sure she's going to be back.
Oh, I agree with you. Actually, I think people they tend to overreact to the ACL injuries. Like, I mean, the technology has gotten. It's not like back in the day, like when we were growing up. Like, back like in like the 80s and even into the early 90s, like ACL tear was devastating to most athletes. Like a lot of athletes didn't come back. And if they did come back, they weren't the same. One guy I think about all the time is Jamal Anderson, who played for the Falcons. I mean, he had that great 1998 season, and then in 1999 he tore his ACL, and it was like he was never seen or heard from again. But now with an ACL tear, you have guys that tear their ACLs like the beginning of the year. And in some cases, if the season lasts long, so in the NBA, like let's say a guy tears his ACL in October, if this team makes the playoffs, they make a deep run, there's a possibility he could come back because it's like a 7 to 8 month injury now. So just thinking of the timeline, it's not that devastating. We will definitely see her probably back if everything goes well with her rehab. There are no other surgeries they have to do. We'll see her probably next year, probably December, maybe December or January. We'll probably see her back. And what you mentioned, I think sometimes, when we're looking at basketball, we have to kind of understand this is not the NBA. This is not a series. This is not the WNBA. This is not a series. Like, they got hurt like in the WNBA for a team. You probably say, oh, the season's done. But, in college basketball, it's only one game. And you've seen it in on the men's side where a team's best player will get hurt. The guys will rally and they still will make a very. I remember. I forgot. So this was 2017. Oregon lost one of their best players actually, and they still made the Final Four that year. And Auburn, one of their best players in 2019, he tore his ACL in the Sweet 16 game against Carolina. They rallied and they were still able to make the Final Four, and they should have beat UVA in the Final Four, if not for the foul. So, I like what you mentioned about them moving the ball, them getting 29, 30 assists a game. I think that's very important. I do not think their season's over with. I just like how they rallied after, because a devastating injury like that, sometimes the team might not be the same after a player gets hurt like that. It seemed like those girls, they rallied around her. They were like, let's win this for her. Let's step up. They were moving the ball around. They played very good defense. They rebounded the ball well. So I'm not going to say they can't make the Final Four because anything can happen in one game. And stranger things have happened in college basketball. So it's sad, but she'll come back stronger than ever. And I'm looking forward to seeing her get her due recognition because JuJu is nice. She's actually one of the better players to actually watch, so just the way that she can handle the ball, she moves very well, her shot.
Yeah, she does.
So, I feel bad for her, but she'll come back stronger than ever. I'm sure she will. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was. And it was funny because Monday was such a great night. Obviously, it capped off that Maryland double overtime win. On our favorite Sarah Tibiasu going off in that game, and all of a sudden that UConn game as well, Paige Becker's last home game, and then for this to happen, yeah, it is. It's one of the things. Yeah, it's very unfortunate. It's going to just be a small setback in her great career. I still hope the basketball gods do bless us with her coming to the Mystics in 2027. That's still gonna be my hope forever. But other than that, it's just a tough break for their season. What I look for as far as, like you said, she'll probably be back. Probably before like conference play next season. So I'll probably not have her during, like, maybe for the most part, like the non-conference portion of their season. But it's just to me just a minor setback, and it's not like how it used to be career threatening, because people fail to remember Gail Sayers when he tore his ACL back in the 60s, 70s. That was like a career ender, and now you think fast forward where this is somewhat of not a common injury, but it's something that we have seen people get hurt and be back and better than ever. Versus it's not like how, like you said, it used to be where it used to be like a setback in a sense. But yeah, this is a tough break for this USC team. I definitely think they have a legitimate shot to beat Kansas State. My personal opinion, this weekend, even in my bracket, I actually had them losing to UConn anyway. And almost another example, you talked about Paige Beckers. She was another one who sustained that injury a few years back, and she came back and she's better than ever. And yeah, it's just a minor setback. And like we said, sending out prayers and well wishes to JuJu, and she'll be back on the court better than ever. Probably at the end of this calendar year, potentially, or at least coming back early 2026 for sure. Yep.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
So, we got to discuss this, which is very interesting. Obviously, if you look at the NCAA tournament, we're now down to the Sweet 16, where we have 7 SEC teams are still alive, 4 Big Ten teams, 4 Big 12, and then 1 lone Atlantic Coast Conference team in the Sweet 16. So Jay Williams went on Get Up, and he said pretty much, and I quote, "NIL is the death of the mid-major runs." What are you guys' thoughts on Jay Will's thoughts and just this overall? Is this words true in your personal opinion as far as the NIL being the death of the Cinderella in the NCAA tournament? I'm gonna go to you first, JB. What are your thoughts?
No, I mean, I don't understand what he's talking about. I mean, like there was no NIL for a long time, and it, like, I mean, George Mason was like the first Cinderella team to actually make the Final Four, and that was in 2006. So the tournament had been at had been at 64 teams or 68 teams at that point for a while. So I mean, why if NIL was such the depth of Cinderella, why were not more Cinderellas making it before NIL? That's the question I have for him. And I think we have to kind of realize with the tournament, sometimes there are going to be no upsets. There are just weird years sometimes. I remember, I think, was it like 2008 or 2009 where I think 14 of the top. Yeah. And it's like, it's just weird. And let's just not forget that 2 years ago, NIL existed, and Fairleigh Dickinson beat Purdue, who was the number 1 seed, and Florida Atlantic made the Final Four. So, I mean, I don't understand what he's talking about. I think that, like, now what I do think that has hurt the mid-majors is just all these conferences, like, basically becoming monopolies. I mean, I think that's hurt the mid-major more than anything. I mean, like, with the SEC combining with some of these conferences, with the Big 12 combining with the Pac-12, they basically have taken up a lot of the bids, actually. I mean, you had 13, CP, how many SEC teams made the tournament this year? Was it 13?
14.
13 SEC teams made the tournament. 14. So I mean, like, that has kind of hurt the mid-major. I mean, like, and then you had a few teams that had pretty good records that didn't make it. I mean, I felt bad for Boise State. I mean, Boise State had a very good net. They had more quad one wins than Texas, and they had more quad one wins than UNC, and they didn't make the tournament. I think these conferences just merging together, that's hurt the mid-major more than NIL has. And I think NIL is actually kind of a bit of a detriment, because what you're seeing in some of these teams is that, yeah, they have the money, but there's so much turnover. It's kind of hard for you to build a good basketball team if you have like 5-6 new people joining the team every year, and you have people that are leaving, coming in, and stuff like that. It's kind of hard to build a good team that way. So I don't agree with him. It would not surprise me if next year we don't have a Cinderella make the Sweet 16 or Elite 8.
Right.
Yeah. Which thoughts, Mal?
I agree with you, JB, and I didn't even think about the combining, because I think we talked about that a few years back, because we were talking about TV money and TV deals. Is that correct? I think all three of us was. Am I correct? That's why they put them together.
Yeah, I know. Like the Pac-12, that was one of the sticky points why the Pac-12 kind of left. Yeah.
Okay, so my take was, and this is coming from somebody personal, I felt like a lot of the mid-majors they get somewhat success, and then they get kicked out of the tournament, and then a lot of the players that are young end up using the portal to go to a bigger school in these, these big teams. Even if they go to these big major ACC or whatever it is, teams, if they don't get a chance to play, then they'll go to a mid-major. And then once because there they know they can start, then they'll leave the next year and then go to one of the big schools again, and most likely get more playing time because they're older and more mature. And that's the way I looked at it. I feel like, I'm not going to say it's messing it up, but I'm saying if that's how you feel, eventually it's going to switch. It's always going to be a shift in some type of way. Like I was telling my brother, because he was saying right after the season, every majority of the team was saying they were going to the portal, and I was like, well, for you being a small team that I should already look forward to that. Just you should already be recruiting that, like the team is those your top players is going to leave. You know what I mean? So that's really my take on it. Is just that you can look at it from that perspective, but it's always going to shift. You know what I mean? Things are it may look that way this season, maybe next season, but it's going to be some type of adjustment.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And the thing about it is it's just the current landscape of college basketball. If you talk about NIL being a detriment, you got to think about the transfer portal. And I think that's where it really comes down to. Yes, you're going to have, but the Cinderella, I think people use that Cinderella too loosely. Like, you think about it. George Mason made it in 2006. Once upon a time, we used to think, hey, that's maybe a once-in-a-lifetime thing. And then VCU happened 5 years later. And that's one of those things where you look at it where you only really going to see these Cinderellas once, maybe maybe one every 15, 20 years potentially. And I think sometimes people don't realize, yes, you're going to have Cinderella runs. You're still going to have that happening. And then it's just going to be the transfer of power. And you look, and JB, you made a good point about the FAU team. And look at three of those guys who were key guys on that team. They got three of those guys are in the Sweet 16 this year. One is leading Arkansas in there, also Florida, and then also Michigan. So you think to yourself, they had a good, a good run with that. And obviously, but we've had things because people used to think, okay, well, we're 16 and never beat a 1. This happened twice. It's happened twice already before. And it's one of things where it's going to happen. And that's the thing with all of this where, yes, you may not have those like the George Mason where you have really senior laden team, the VCU like a senior laden team, but you can get a few guys together in one period and can get them together and have a great run. And most time with this tournament, it's all about the matchups. You just have to have the right matchup to go against certain teams. And that's the thing about it, where when you look at it from that scope, like you look at even some of these mid majors, how they stacked up against teams this year, you can kind of tell, okay, yeah, they just, from a matchup standpoint, this just wasn't the right matchup for them in that particular bracket or what have you. But there will always be a Cinderella. There will always be a Cinderella at the end of the day, and it's just one of the things where it's just going to be like this year's not happening. But it's one of the things where do people really want Cinderellas? And I think that's a lot of things too, where people fail to kind of be like, yeah, you like the Cinderella story, and going to the Sweet 16, but do you like that going into the Final Four? And that's the thing where so that's the thing where.
Well, that's one of the things, like, people talk about how they don't like dynasties in sports, and we want more, parity. But when you have these parity like matchups in the finals, people don't watch them. So it's like, we want to see like the Raptors against somebody in the finals. Well, I mean, they did well because they went against, but let's be honest, man. The NBA wants like the Lakers and the Celtics to play in the finals. They want the Lakers and the Knicks to play in the finals. Like, they want these teams. Yeah, and every sport, like last year was a dream matchup for the MLB. You got the Yankees and the Dodgers. Like, you can say all the stuff you want to. We want the Royals to make the World Series. No, you don't, because when the Royals make the World Series, the viewership is not good. It's not good, man. Like, so like people say one thing, but then they don't follow through. Kind of like all these people say, oh yeah, the WNBA players should be getting more money. We want them to get paid more. Well, go to the game. You say one thing, but you're not doing it. Yeah. So that's just how I feel about it. Oh, and CP, one more thing. I agree with you about the transfer portal. Oh, I agree with you about the transfer portal. I think another thing that we have to kind of talk about too. These coaches, they change jobs like hotcakes, man. Like, like you mentioned FAU. FAU's coach, he left. And when he left, all those guys left. So now they're in different schools now. So that's another thing I want to throw out. So.
Yeah. And that's another thing too. But even with that argument too, even guys who are staying, like even like what's going on in UConn, half those guys left, and the same thing. So you think about it, your roster is going to get gutted year in, year out. If your coaches stay, half of them going to go, and obviously, and that's kind of what happened with Jim Larinaga. You think about like his situation at Miami when they got to the Final Four, and he led another team to the Final Four yet again. Those guys left, and that's the thing, like you said, and then you think about it now. You look at how the transfer portal is now. The portal opened up Monday, and it's just like, how can a portal open up Monday? And then because like the whole situation with Will Wade, like people was like, they hate that move, but I'm like, it's almost like he had to do what he had to do. He had to, because I mean, the portal opened up Monday. He got to get a roster. He's got to get a roster, and the same thing, what happened with Ryan Odom. They got to get a roster going. Like, that's the thing. It's just it's what sucks. And I know I doubt if they're gonna change the calendar anytime soon. But yeah, that's just the world that we live, unfortunately. And it truly sucks. Like, it's fun, but but it is what it is.
Oh yeah.
It seems so. I think we talked. This is another subject we talked in the past. It's like it's going to have to be some type of lid or something, because it just seems chaotic. You know what I mean? Like, and it's true. Like, when you see a college team, you would think it should be the college and the prestige and tradition, and then coach. You know what I mean? And if the coach is going to leave, the players leaving.
Oh yeah. I mean, you saw what happened with VC. You saw what happened with VC. What was his name? He's at Penn State now.
Mike Rhodes.
He left.
Mm-hmm. Mike Rhodes.
He left. Like, this is crazy, man. Like, so, like, remember that he left, and I was talking to my dad, and I'm like, yeah. So how's VCU? My dad was like, Jamie, he was like, everybody is gone. They all like went to Penn State, and he was like, Odom had to come in. He basically had to build a new roster off the transfer portal. And I was just, and that was like that was kind of my wake up call to like the transfer portal, like how your whole team can pretty much get gutted because VCU lost Ace Baldwin, who was the Atlantic 10 Player of the Year. They lost pretty much like 9 of the 11 people that were on the roster were just gone. 80% of your team is gone. That's insane right there. And I agree, Molly, they're going to have to do something about this. Like, now, what I would suggest is that maybe if you transfer to a school, you have to stay there for at least 2 years before you transfer somewhere else. That's what I would do because it's chaotic, man. It's super chaotic.
Yeah. And
Coach,
that's what's going on at
thing.
VCU now. I mean,
oh,
okay,
right.
Yeah.
See? No, you good, Coach. Go ahead.
No. You go.
My only thing was, my only thing is, like, even if you did that for a player, if a player you have you stay there for 2 years, like the whole thing is, I decided to come here because of whatever, and most likely it's the coach. And if the coach leaves, you know what? I agree with you, but let's just say the coach leaves, that should be voided. You know what I mean? It should be voided because I most likely came here because of the coach.
Yeah, no, that's a fair point. That's a fair point. And I think about that sometimes too, because like the coaches, they change up too. Like it would not surprise me actually if Rick Pitino was to leave St. John's like within the next like year or two, actually. So I mean, he's gotten them back on the map, and he might leave them to go to like a better situation, you know. So yeah, no, I agree, Maui.
Yeah, and that's what's happening all across the landscape. Look at what's going on with Richard Pitino. Now he go to Villanova. Everybody in New Mexico left, hit the portal. The same thing going on with VCU. There's only like 3 guys on that team as we speak today, and they might hit the transfer portal tomorrow. So, Martelli Jr., Phil Martelli Jr. is going to have his own roster as well. And that's just going to be every team that goes with a coaching change. That's just going to be what it is. And that's what happened to Coach Cal. Coach Calipari was the same way when he went to Arkansas. Yeah. He had a press conference and had 0 players. So yeah, it's unfortunate. And like you said, they need a commissioner. I think that's what all that could stand for. But I think it's better than doing it for football. I think football is even more chaotic. But but football is even worse. And I'm like, but it is what it is. But yeah, because pretty much you have to take everybody going with you.
And I don't know if you fellas gamble, because I was gambling when I was back home. I can't do it here, but like I think gambling on college football is just not smart, man. Especially on these bowl games, because you don't know who the hell is going to be on the team. Like I think you're playing like Russian roulette if you gamble on college football, because I saw Duke had a pretty good year this year, and literally the day after the regular season ended, their quarterback hit the transfer portal, and I'm like, damn. I was like, he's not going to even play in the bowl game. He hit the transfer portal, so it's insane, man.
Yeah,
it is.
Yeah, like I said, it's all part of it now. It's all part of it now. So it is what it is.
Yeah, and like you said, until we can get some loopholes and what have you, and get some structure, organization, it's going to continue that way. And it's just, it is what it is. But yeah, so we'll go into the association. We'll talk some NBA. So we'll talk about Dame Lillard. So obviously, news broke yesterday that Damian Lillard is out indefinitely. A sideline due to a DVT, which is a deep vein thrombosis that has occurred in his right calf, and he'll be out indefinitely. So pretty much more than likely, sound like he'll probably be out, in my if my estimation, probably going to be out probably at least for the rest of this year. And obviously, this comes on the heels of Victor Wembanyama having nearly the same situation in February. So, what you guys' thoughts on Dame Lillard being out? First, go with you first, JB. What you got?
I mean, I actually, it's kind of weird. I was talking to my dad, and I actually have not really liked what I've been seeing about Cleveland. So I was like, okay. I was like, I'm not saying that it's going to happen, but I thought Milwaukee could have legitimately given Cleveland a scare in the second round because I think Milwaukee will probably be. I thought Milwaukee would probably be favored against Indiana with Giannis healthy and with Dame healthy. Now Milwaukee might not win the first round. They might lose to Indiana again. I mean, who's going to be the number 2 guy? Is Kuzma going to step up?
Should be.
From just a human being? Yeah. Well, yeah, Kuz. You don't know what you're going to get from that guy. He's a. I don't trust when a guy dyes his hair blonde, but that's just that's one of my crazy Jamie-isms. But like from a human standpoint, I think he's going to be okay. Now, there are different blood clots. Like you have conditions where you're going to keep on getting blood clots like Chris Bosh. And Chris Bosh had to retire. I think with Dame and I think with Wembanyama, it's going to be a situation where it's just going to be a one-off thing. Like, for instance, like we forget Brandon Ingram had to miss the rest of the 2018-2019 season because he got a blood clot. He's back. He's up and running again. So I think Dame will be okay. I just think that with the Dame situation, is he going to be the same player? Because it seems like the last few years he's actually started to show his age. We know small guards don't generally age well in the NBA. So is Dame going to be okay next year? Because he really to me has not looked good since he came to Milwaukee. I understand he's had some personal issues. Like I know last year he was going through a divorce. But this year, he's been very inconsistent. You know, you see it, some games he has it, and then other games, he just looks like he's like, he looks like an old man sometimes. So I hope Dame's okay, but this is not really good for Milwaukee's season. This looks like it's going to end up being another season of Giannis's prime where they just don't get out the first round of the playoffs. And this will be 3 straight years of this happening.
Right. You got Mallory?
I mean, so many there. Let's start with Dame. From what they were saying, it's a blood clot in dealing with the knee. It's inside the vein, and they said you got to take blood thinners so it won't move and go up to the heart. And and it can get into your lungs. And they said with his situation, there's optimism and possibility, but the problem is you got to take the blood thinners for like 3 months. So it's hurtful because of the bugs, but it was very positive of he will be okay. It's not as bad as as everybody else. It seemed like they took it, they got it early, they're taking advantage, they taking care of it, and it seemed like it's more positive than negative from that standpoint. Staying with Dame and his health, I think him leaving Portland and the controversial of them asking him where he wanted to go and he did not get what he wanted, the issue with his personal stuff, a lot of that stuff can weigh on you. You know what I mean? Then, I'll say some positive stuff. Before Doc Rivers got there, in that situation, they were actually doing pretty well. And then the controversy with the coach being fired, right? So then we'll go to Doc being there with being a new coach. Middleton was there, and I think Giannis, I think he was hurt, so you got to see Dame and Middleton do the pick and roll, and they actually was doing it was coming up with something because they both can shoot. You know what I mean? It's just going back to the championship, but when they won against the Suns, Middleton and Giannis was doing the pick and roll. Middleton was knocking down that shot. Giannis, do the pick and roll. He could say, oh, okay, I can pass you because Aiden wasn't chest strong. Nobody was chest strong to stop him. They used to call it the Giannis wall. Y'all remember that? You know what I mean? So I feel like it is an opportunity for Kyle Kuzma that he's always wanted. He is a NBA champion. He's gotten paid. He has an opportunity for him to say, "This is what y'all traded me for. Y'all needed a new look. He doesn't hardly get hurt. So I just hope they can work with him and they can figure out a way to really use his skills and the system that Doc has to help. Because really, to me, he just shoot better than Giannis. It's almost like the same game. Like Giannis is an up and down guy. And when I think of Kuzma, I think of the same thing, run and gun. You know what I mean? So, I mean, if they can figure it out, like Kuzma is 6'10", you know what I mean? And he can play the 2, 3, and the 4. He can't play the 1. If you could figure out how to fit him in that system, it could be dangerous.
Yeah, but Molly, let me ask you a question. Do you think that Middleton is like a legitimate number 2 option on a playoff team? Because I don't think so. I think that
I'm with you. I'm with you.
Yeah,
right.
Because he's kind of inconsistent to me, and that's the thing that I always harped on when he was with the Lakers. Because
you talking about Kuzma? Yeah,
Kuzma is just like sometimes it's like he's aggressive, and then other times he's not. And I just think he's the kind of guy he could put up big numbers on a bad team, but I think if he's on a good team, I just haven't seen the consistency. Now I've been wrong before. If he proves me wrong, then a tip of a hat to him. But I just think that the Dame injury, from a basketball standpoint, is huge because, I think of the things that has hurt Dame, and it hurts smaller guards, is that the season is such a grind. You have all these back-to-backs, but in the playoffs, you don't play any back-to-backs. You're playing every other day, or you're getting 2 days rest, which I think is like kind of big for a guy that's Dame's age. So, and then, you look at the matchups that he would have gotten this year too. He would have been going against Indiana. Indiana really doesn't have very good perimeter defensive players. Like Tyrese Halliburton, he's good, but he's not a good defender. And then if they would have made it against Cleveland, he's matching up against Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland. Those guys aren't very good defenders too. So I thought that this would have been kind of an opportunity for Dame to have a good playoff beside Giannis, but unfortunately it's not going to happen now. So
yeah, very unfortunate. So let's go to the NFL, fellas. We'll talk about Russell Wilson, as we all know him affectionately around these parts as the 2-time Rich Chat Dispatch Player of the Year. He signed with the Giants, $10.5 million, could balloon up to $21 million based on incentives. The Giants signed Jameis Winston earlier this week and also have Tommy DeVito on the roster. Obviously, with Russell Wilson last year with Pittsburgh Steelers, started 11 games, overcame a calf injury in the summer. Went 6-5, had 225 passing yards per game with 16 touchdowns and 5 touchdowns. So the biggest question is, even having Jameis, Russ, and Tommy DeVito on the roster, and with the Giants having number 3 overall pick, should they still draft a quarterback? I'm going to you first, JB. What you got?
I mean, if Cam Ward and Shador Sanders are not there, no. I mean, because this is a very weak quarterback draft. I think the Giants have some other holes on their team. I think that next year the quarterback class will be richer. Let's just be honest, unless, knock on wood, I'm not hoping this happens, unless Jalen Hurts, Dak Prescott, and Jaden Daniels gets hurt, the Giants ain't winning many games in that division in the NFL. Their offensive line is garbage. It's complete and utter garbage. I think that what I would do if I was the Giants, I would focus on the offensive line to make sure you can protect Russell Wilson. I think that that's the bigger need, actually. I think that you have Russ and you have Jameis. I think you just go with that, and I think that you probably try to get a quarterback next year. That's what I would do personally. But no, I don't think they should still draft a quarterback. Unless Shador or Cam Ward are there, no, do not draft a quarterback.
What you got, Mel? Your thoughts?
Damn, JB, You took me for a loop right there. I think you're right. My whole thing is I'm gonna agree with JB and no, because when you really, to me, when I look at Russell Wilson, he should have been playing for the Giants. I just felt like New York would love him. He looked like he played for the Yankees. I just think that to me, he embodied what a New York athlete would look like. I think he could, they could blame everything on him. He's going to be able to take it and still be professional. I think the media is going to love him. So I was going to say yes until I saw they signed Jameis. Winston, I was like, and then Tony's still there. I was like, why? So I don't know what I really want to ask y'all. What do y'all think they should get? Like you said, a line, but I think the fit is perfect for them. So if you're saying that next draft have stronger quarterbacks because he only signed for a year, then I was thinking they may give him one more year, for extension. I would say, yeah, wait till next year and definitely build up that line. So when you do draft a quarterback, that Russell's being protected and I'm gonna end it right here. I feel like Russ is the ultimate professional. So to me, if you're going to draft a quarterback, he should definitely sit behind Russ just so he can learn not just the X and O's, but how to carry yourself as being a quarterback in the NFL, if that makes sense. So I wouldn't draft a quarterback this season.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting.
I can't hear you. I can't hear
Y'all hear me now?
you. Yeah, I can hear you now.
Yeah.
Y'all hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Good. 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 I don't know what's going on. My internet's acting wonky tonight, but yeah, I think a part of me, I think that was a move to let me know that maybe Cleveland is going to get Shador at number 2. I think this was kind of one of the moves I think could potentially happen at number 2. For to me, the plan doesn't look like they're going to get back because to me, if you get Jameis Winston and Russell Wilson in pretty much in the span of like less than 8 days, that shows me I think you got a tip to let you know that you might be getting Shador Sanders, and then that leaves you with Jackson Dart, and you're not going to get Jackson Dart. So I think that lets me know that they're not going to get a quarterback because it ultimately, I think to me, with the Giants, you just get whoever's the best available, which I think, in my personal opinion, because you think if it's 1-2 Cam Shador, I mean, you think yourself, you get Travis Hunter potentially, or you get Abdul Carter. You have some options there, at that 3 spot. Because at the end of the day, I don't think Brian Daboll and the New York Giants, they're not going to be there next year. Like you said, the next head coach is going to draft a quarterback in 2026. And like you said, even having a situation like a Russell Wilson in the field, Russell Wilson in the fold, doesn't negate the fact that this team still has a lot of holes and they have a lot of situations where this team, they maybe can win 6 games potentially instead of losing, or what have you. So to me, I think in my personal opinion, this lets me know that they're not going to get a quarterback just due to the fact of just how close those 2 signings are. So quarterback in 2026, maybe you hope to get your legend's nephew and Arch Manning next year potentially. So, hopefully you'll be in the Arch Manning sweepstakes. But yeah, no quarterback in 2025 unless Shador is there at 3. But I doubt if it's gonna be at 3. What they just did.
Yeah, I don't think so because it seems like Cam Ward is going to be the Titans are going to pick Cam Ward unless something weird happens. It looks like Cam Ward to the Titans is like an automatic thing. So
you don't think Shador will go there?
it seems like they're going all in. I've heard that they're taking him to dinner. They're whining and dining him. Unless something strange happens, I don't know. Maybe they might do some kind of health check on him. They see something they don't like, and they might go with Shador. But like it seems like what's his name? Callahan, his son. What's Bill Callahan's son's name? The coach of the Titans. I can't think of his name right now. Bill Callahan's son.
Brian. No, Brian.
Yeah,
Brian Callahan.
Yeah, Brian. Yeah.
Brian.
It seems like Brian really likes Cam Ward a lot, actually. Yeah, it seems like he really likes Cam Ward more than he likes Shador. So, and I know for a fact Dion does not want Shador to go to New York. I think that's something that's come out too. Yeah, and I think that if the Giants were to draft Shador, that like he might do some Eli Manning stuff and like force a trade. So, like, yeah.
That's why I said it.
Now,
Dion said something about it got to be sunny, got to be this, and got to be that, and that's why I was like, "You sure Tennessee? I know Tennessee ain't the hottest place in the world, but I'm like, you sure they don't want to draft him? Because I know he don't want him to go to New York."
You know where I think Dion wants his son to go, but I don't think that's going to happen. I think he wants his son to go to Vegas, to Las Vegas, because Vegas. I know that they have Geno Smith, but they need a quarterback, and I think Brady also likes Shador too. So I think that's where Dion wants his son to go. Yeah, I think
that's
Dion
exactly where he wants him to go. Yeah,
but.
That's it right there.
The Raiders kind of
and Tom Brady's his mentor, so of course,
yeah. But the Raiders are too far down; they would have to trade up, and I think that with Pete Carroll as their coach, I think they're going to be playing kind of more of a long game now. But I think they'll be trying to get a quarterback probably next year, or maybe 2026 or 2027. I think the Raiders will be trying to get a quarterback.
Yeah, and that's the thing where with the situation, that's where I think we say as far as getting Jameis and getting Russ in consecutive weeks, they just let me know that they're not in the quarterback business. And like you said, even if Shador, it's going to be really interesting because I still think he's inkling. I'm thinking if it probably would go to Cleveland. That's what I'm thinking. Potentially, he'll be going to Cleveland, and that's where I think the draft is really going to be. Where it's really going to start. It's what Cleveland going to do because everything else, I think, is going to be really contingent on it. Because, like you said, Cam Ward, he'll be the number one pick. I mean, so what's going to be after him? Because Cleveland going so many different directions. You get Abdul Carter, put him on the other end with Myles Garrett. Travis Hunter alongside Denzel Ward. The possibility is endless for Cleveland. But once they get whoever, that's when the draft starts, is who they get. So, yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. And matter of fact, the draft is less than a month away. I think it's the 24th. So, yeah. So a month from today would be the fourth and the seventh rounds of the draft. So yeah, it's gonna be a lot of intrigue and fun in Green Bay this year. At the draft. So it should be fun.
I don't think Travis. Y'all don't think the Giants would take Travis Hunter?
They should. I think there might be ways.
They might. I mean, they have. Yeah, I mean, the Giants have a lot of holes on the team, and I think that when you have a lot of holes on the team, I think that you maybe go for best available player. I was just throwing out offensive line because their offensive line has just been an issue for a long time, man. They have one of the worst lines in football. Yeah, but like Travis Hunter would fill some needs that they have too. So, I mean, I think that when you have so many holes on your team, I think that sometimes it's better for you just to draft the best available player.
My only thing is I'm looking at,
and then you think about everybody in NFC East,
right.
And you think you got to go against CD twice, you got to go against AJ and Devonta twice, Terry McLaurin, Debo Samuel in Washington, like, yeah, you might want to get a corner. At least stop some form of bleeding. He's still gonna be bleeding everywhere else, but at least, kind of mitigate that situation.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Giants, they're intriguing. And then if you put him on the other side, if you want to make him a wide receiver, be on the opposite side of Malik Neighbors and Hyatt, that's an option too. Hey.
Damn, Travis Hunter being in the NFL next season. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, in a month. Right. In less than 30 days.
Yeah. And in less than a year, Brian Dable not gonna have a job no more.
Yeah. Yeah, because he's gonna be a Black Monday casualty, I think, for certain. Unfortunately.
Y'all so wrong.
Unless this team make a playoff run a la 2022, I don't. He's gone.
And I don't think he's a bad coach either. I just think that the Giants are just. Yeah, I just think the Giants are just. They're a joke, man. Like the way that they handled the whole Saquon Barkley thing, like they were trying to say, "Oh, NFL Films made our front office look bad." I'm like, no. You do a pretty good job of making yourself look bad. Like the way that they handled the Saquon Barkley situation, like, oh, yeah, come back with us. And Saquon Barkley said that if I get a good offer, I'm not coming back. Like he was the most important player on that team, and you handed him to like your rival. Yeah, the Giants front office, their front office.
That still baffles me. That still baffles me.
Yeah.
Right. Because y'all made the phone call. NFL Films didn't tell you to make the phone call and tell him to do it. I'm like, I'm still mad at the Giants. That's the reason why we made the Super Bowl. I'm still pissed off about that because at the end of the day, it's ridiculous. How do you let that man go? He had to move. He ain't have to move. He had to move. Talk about another deal. He had to move.
Yeah. And then it killed me. It's like you gave Daniel Jones all that money, and then you were like, "Oh, well, we don't want to give Saquon 3 years, 37." But man, get out of here, man! You guys gave Daniel Jones like a Dak Prescott contract, and he wasn't even really the reason why you made the playoffs a year. It was because of Saquon Barkley. He was the reason why you made the playoffs because he stayed healthy that year. So.
Yeah. And that's why I didn't even send it because, like you said, and that line was bad even with him. He was there. He was able to overcome that. And that's why I'm like, and that's why it's like I never understood that in general. And the only thing is, Daniel Jones is only good if he played us because he stunk everywhere else. But when he played us for some odd reason, he was like the best quarterback. He probably that's the only time he really was balling. Against us.
Against the Vikings. And against the Vikings.
And then we finally beat him one day. And then it just went downhill from there.
Yeah.
The issue is they paid him because they should not have picked him in the first place, and they had to justify it. It's just let's think outside the box here, guys. Like, you know what I mean? He wasn't supposed to be picked by the Giants. It was the young man that passed away that played for Ohio State?
What's his name? He played for the
Passed
Commanders.
away?
Yeah.
He passed away?
Yeah. I can't think of his name now. He was before Justin Fields at Ohio State. He got hit by a car crossing the highway. He was with the Steelers actually when he died.
Yeah, he's with the Steelers.
Yeah.
But I just remember watching Joe Budden when they picked Daniel Jones. He was like, who is this? Because wasn't he? Yeah. Anyway, y'all already know. And I just you make that pick and then you got to justify it. Yeah, you got to try to figure out a way to justify the decision you made because it really was nothing really positive. I felt like he was a big quarterback. I seen the tools when he scrambled and things of that nature, but I think they just put him in a predicament that he should have never been in, and that's being quarterback for the New York Giants.
Yeah, it was terrible.
Fair enough.
Yeah,
I was shocked because
you live, you learn.
I was shocked because I was shocked because you know he didn't really have that great of a year because he was. I mean, and I'm not trying to be. I love Duke and everything, but like, what quarterback from Duke has ever done anything in the NFL? Nobody. So, dude had a bunch of issues with turnovers, and there are a lot of red flags about Daniel Jones coming out of college. And the Giants like decided to draft that man. Was he like the number 4 pick? The number 2 pick? I forgot, but like he
was in the top 10.
Yeah,
he was in the top 10.
Yeah, I know he was. Yeah, so yeah, but yeah.
But hey, I know one thing. Daniel Jones, he balled against Carolina. He beat us all 3 years. Hey, he had games against us. I was like, yo, Daniel Jones was that dude when he played us. I like shoot. All 3 years he started.
Oh yeah, because the year y'all won the division and during COVID, he swept y'all that year, which was like insane to me. Because y'all defense was really good that year in 2020, and he swept y'all.
Yeah. I was talking about when he was at Duke. I'm talking about when he was at Duke.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that too. Okay, he was. Yeah. We was at Duke. Yeah, he beat us a lot too in the with the commander, with the Redskins, Washington football team, Commanders, all that. Yeah. Yep. Crazy. Yep. All right, fellas. So our next topic that we want to discuss, we're going to talk about some unfortunate news in the world of sports in general. George Foreman, 2-time world heavyweight champion and Olympic medalist. George Foreman passed away on Friday at the age of 76. Fellas, just going around the horn, what's your thoughts on your memories of George Foreman? What's your first, JB? What you got?
I just remember being a little kid, staying up watching his fight against Michael Moore and him knocking Michael Moore out and becoming, I think he became champion. So he died. So he was like 45. He was 45 when he became the champion.
45 years old,
the second time. So, yeah. So I mean, that's an amazing feat right there too. I watched that fight sometime, man. George Foreman, man, that dude had the strength of a silverback gorilla, man. I know the fight that he's most known for is the Thriller in Manila when he lost to Ali, but he dished out some punishment. He lost to Ali, but he hurt Ali in that fight. Like, I've heard stories that he bruised Muhammad Ali's ribs in that fight. They said that Muhammad Ali was pissing blood actually for like a week or two after the fight. So even though he lost, he hurt Ali. That was one of Ali's toughest fights right there. Yeah, man, George definitely is a legend. For him to, basically retire after that fight, and for him to come back years later and become champion, that's an impressive feat right there. 45-year-old men aren't supposed to be champions when they box, but he did it, and kudos to him. He definitely is a legend, and it's sad, man. All these great boxers, from the the 70s, the 60s, and 70s, man, they're moving on to glory. So he's another one. But
Man, it's so much, man. I'm gonna try to do this best to because George Foreman was one of the biggest influences for one of our on the road brothers, Tunde. Tunde had a lot of trauma in his life, and one of the even from him winning titles, George Foreman winning titles, even from him the grill and becoming a minister, it was the youth George Foreman's Youth Center that was one of his biggest things that he would he cared for. When he was he dropped out of school at a young age, he ended up being a mugger, and he ended up going to Job Corps. and it's to see somebody like a George Foreman go to Job Corps. I have a lot of friends growing up that went to Job Corps that actually was able to change their life. So that's one. Then winning the gold medal, and that was 67, and then in 73 winning the title, and then people were terrified of Joe Frazier, and to be able to demolish him by then the second round was crazy. But then we gonna move past that, and then when he ended up losing to Ali, and then eventually not getting another title shot and retiring, he had this persona about himself where he was like the boogeyman, and he felt like that's how he had to be. So when he got his second wife and was able to find faith, you got to see the rebuild of a new George Foreman, and that's the one that everybody eventually loved. And like I said, he saved a lot of people. He came back to boxing, basically to fund that youth center. So, of course, 2-time champion, gold medalist, and all those good things. One of the best HBO commentators ever. You know what I mean? And of course, the legendary George Foreman grill. When he sold the commercial rights to it for $138 million. A lot of people don't necessarily talk about, how much money George Foreman really brought to the industry. But Rumble in the Jungle was one of the biggest earning fights ever especially at that period of time. And then just how big he was to culture also. Like that George Foreman grill, let me tell you, you know what I mean? Sending love and and all that good stuff to his family. But again, when it comes to Houston, that George Foreman Youth Center has helped a lot of Houstoners out there. You know what I mean? Shout out to Tunde.
George actually, I think that he kind of also rebuilt his image too in the later years
Right.
too. Like you mentioned, he became a minister. He started doing a lot of community work, because I think people forget, like, he kind of didn't have a good reputation. Like, he was kind of the villain in that Ali fight. Ali was the guy that people were rooting for.
Yeah.
George was kind of like the villain in that fight. And, George also, unfortunately, as with a lot of boxers, George had some issues with domestic violence with his first wife too. So George he didn't have the best image. He was also seen as being, my dad had told me this, because he was like, you weren't born at the time, but he was saying that a lot of people didn't like George. They thought he was just lazy. He wasn't really that good of a boxer. He just got by off of just just pure power. Dude.
Right.
The dude had a hell of a punch, man. Like, I would hate to get punched. I think our generation, we kind of look at Mike Tyson, as that guy who had, that great power, but like Mike Tyson really didn't have the power that George Foreman did. George Foreman had a hell of a punch. So, he rebuilt this image, and he great commentator too, man. I really loved hearing his commentating as well too. So,
right.
Yeah, like you said, once again, just another legend, leaving. And that, obviously, I'm really not a big boxing guy. Obviously, when I came up, obviously, he retired in '87, so and he came back and he ended up winning at the age of 46. And it's one of the things where I think you just look at it from his perspective, and just you think to yourself, like, it kind of gives you encouragement, and like, not necessarily saying I could be a heavyweight champion at 46, but just let you know that you can do anything that you put your mind to, regardless of the age, in the sense. So you look at kind of that, and it's almost similar to kind of how we've kind of talked about a lot of our athletes have passed away, where they impact on different levels. Obviously, what he did in boxing was paramount as well, and what he did there. And then I think you look at, people look at like the George Foreman grill. That's another thing where that's, especially at our age, that used to be, that was the number one thing that you would have, as far as, I know when I first moved out, one of the first things I wanted to get was a George Foreman grill. I forget about our bed, forget about, sheets and all this type of stuff. That's what you wanted because hey, I can because it was something that you wanted to cook and you wanted to. That was like your home, your appliance. That was like for especially us single men, at the time, single man at the time, moving out. Like, hey, that's my pots and pans, like from that standpoint. And you just look at this is whole totality of his career and just what he's able to do. Great accomplishments, and And it was funny. I was talking to some of my family. We were talking about, and everybody always used to make the joke about him naming his 5 sons after him. And then, I thought about it now as an older guy. I'm like, this kind of made sense. This is kind of innovative because you think to yourself, like, I have my cousin. She has 5. Well, she has 4 boys, and sometimes I get them confused. And I know that sounds crazy, but sometimes I get them confused at times. I call one and I meant to call the other. I'm like, you know what? If I was to ever have 5 kids, I think I might name them all with the same name because it makes sense.
I believe it.
You think to yourself, like, that's really a low key, a smart idea. So, but that just shows you, like, just the kind of the scope and the magnitude of what George Foreman has done in his life. So, like I said, when I heard about it Friday, I was like, dang, obviously a lot of stuff was going on Friday as well, just, and everything. But, to hear that, you kind of stop and, kind of reflect. But yeah. So, fellas, we'll put a bow on tonight's show. So we'll go around the horn, fellas. Game ball. Who gets the game ball for you? I'm going to go with you first, Mal. Who gets the game ball for you this week?
You said Maui?
Yes. Yes, sir.
You said... Okay, game ball. I'm gonna give the game ball to USC. For even though their star player JuJu went down, they still went and handled their business. Shout out to Avery Howe, 28 minutes, 18 points, 6 assists, 1 rebound, and definitely Kiki, 6'3" forward, 31 minutes, 9 rebounds, 2 assists, 36 points.
Yo. All right, what you got? JB.
I'm gonna give my game ball to the Cinderella of the tournament. Unfortunately, their run ended after their win against Clemson, but I'm gonna give it to McNeese State. I'm also gonna give it to Will Wade. Will Wade was kind of shamed a few years ago, got fired by LSU, and he rebuilt his image at McNeese State, and now he's leaving McNeese State to go down to Tobacco Road with the Tar Heels and the Blue Devils. So I expect for NC State to have a pretty good team next year. I think it's actually good when all 3 of those teams are actually good. And it seems like it doesn't really happen that often. It's usually Duke and Carolina are good, and NC State is not that good. But it'll be nice if all 3 were pretty good at the same time. Like if you could have all 3 teams ranked in the top 25 at the same time, that'd be nice.
Yeah, man. Shout out to Will Wade. But yeah, I'll put that in a book one day. But I digress. But yeah, so I raise you a ACC coach for a brand new ACC coach. I definitely got to give a huge shout out to Ryan Odom, who took the job at UVA. I guess this is my first public talk about Ryan Odom. Once again, I know obviously former VCU head coach. I'm really, really excited for what Ryan Odom's going to do at UVA. The press conference was awesome for him to. It's just the fact that hey, he's going back home. It was I love his recall of all the moments that he had when he was in Charlottesville during his time at Charlottesville. Obviously, his dad Dave Odom was the one of the assistant coaches at UVA at the time. So, and definitely huge shout out to him. Always gracious to me. When I ask questions and also share some kind words to me during the 18 championship. So, a lot of love for Coach Odom. I'm only gonna root against you twice. It's only against Carolina. I won't root against you against Carolina, and then when you come back to the Siegel Center, or VCU had to go to JPJ. But those are only 2 occasions that I'm not gonna root against you. But 98% of the time, I'm gonna root for you, Coach Odom, and definitely appreciate you. And yeah, man, and good luck, Wahoo Wah. So,
Yeah,
all right, so we'll
that's
go
what's up.
around the horn, fella. Yeah, man, yeah, for sure. So go around the horn. Social media, any upcoming projects, what you got going on? I'm gonna go with you first, JB. What you got?
Yeah, social media. You can find me. Still, my Facebook has been deactivated pre-election. I can't deal with people on Facebook, but yeah, my social media is on Instagram. I'm Jamie B Foodie. No upcoming projects. Yeah, Maui. I'll be home probably the end of May or beginning of June for about a month. So
Okay.
hopefully we can catch up.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, I'm down. Trust me. Hey man, DT Morgan 78, Instagram, Deshaun Morgan, Facebook. You know, happy to see JB back. Just happy to be doing the show again. Appreciate, this is one of the original team right here when it come to Couch Coach Live. So appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Once again, another great show. Had a little technical difficulties. The internet won't let me be great today, but we powered through it. Yeah, so pretty much Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, On the Couch Coach Live. Also check out the another podcast I'm doing now called Gridiron District.
Right.
We'll do that
Right.
every Monday for the time being. So it's going to be the new podcast that's going to be essentially focused on the DC Defenders and the Washington Commanders. We dropped episode 1 on Monday. Shout out to our guy Brett from the Bottom Line Podcast as we previewed the Defenders matchup versus Birmingham Stallions on Sunday. So that's going to be a great game. Obviously, Birmingham is I think, consider them a 3-time consecutive champion between the XFL, but UFL, USFL, UFL, even before the merger and all that. So we got that going on. I got a few other stuff going on, and we'll definitely post it on our social media under Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter under Couch Coach Live, man. And we'll catch you guys next week. And we're out.
You're welcome.